Welcome to Why Work Sucks and What You Can Do About It. Here's the message that came in. Russ, I've been here 9 years. I'm the best programmer they have. They hired someone else instead of promoting me, and with less experience programming from an outside company. What can I do about it? Signed, Pat. The questions you've got here really are two things. One of them is you've been with the company 9 years, and the second one is they have less experience and they're from an outside company. So let's address the 9 year thing first. In today's market, it is a little different than it was when I got started. When I got started, people talked about loyalty, longevity, how long you'd been with a company made a big difference because they wanted to see that you weren't job jumping. Now, job jumping back in the 80s was a black mark. In the 90s, it was a black mark. In the 2000s, not so much. And when you got to 2010, 2020, that's gone out the window. Now, I see it all too often. A hiring manager will look at somebody and they'll say they've been with the same company and they've not been promoted in that 5 year period. That means they're not promotable. Why would I hire somebody who's not promotable by their own company? Their company knows them well, and they chose not to promote them. That's not what I'm looking for. It's a black mark to be with the same company more than 5 years. And I see this repeat many, many times in many different job levels. Some managers are like that. They haven't been promoted in 5 years. Why would I hire them? They're a loser. And he would just take that resume and toss it. So this is one of the problems you might be facing. The second one is why? Why would 5 years be too long in the same job? Isn't that loyalty? Isn't that consistency? Isn't that reliability? I show up on time. I'm never late. I don't get sick. I don't take vacation. All these things should mean I'm the right person. Well, what really sits in the background is if I'm doing the same job for 5 years, I don't have 5 years experience. I have 1 year worth of experience 5 times in a row. That's the real issue. If you're with a company in the same job 10 years, you can see how that would be a problem. I've been a warehouse manager for 10 years, and now I want to be a warehouse manager for you, or I want to be a higher level performer in a slightly different job. Well, if they're looking for reliable warehouse manager, that 10 years looks good. If they're looking for somebody who wants to take the next level, who wants to be a senior manager, a director, who wants to move into a different category, not so good because you've got 1 year experience many, many years in a row. So what they're looking for is they're looking for something you don't have. That's your first problem with this particular case. 9 years programming, obviously they're looking for something else. Now let's look at what this other person did. Less experienced programming from an outside company. Okay, there's the flag right there, outside company. Obviously, they're looking at getting information, knowledge, some kind of experience that they're bringing from that other company into yours. They're looking at making changes. They want to make some changes. Even if they're not going to follow through, that's what they were looking for when they were hiring for that job. This person has something on their resume that makes you not the person. Maybe they were the supervising program manager. Maybe they were a product manager. Maybe they had a role interfacing with customers that you don't have. So if you can get a copy of their resume, great, but the odds are really against it. Find out, though, what it is they bring to the party that you don't have. There's something there. And this is where you need to expand what you're doing. Even if you've got only 2 years experience, start asking yourself the question, am I adding to my resume? If I go to my resume, if I looked at LinkedIn, if I look at what somebody else is thinking about me, do I have one paragraph of knowledge? Can I add a new paragraph? Can I add a layer of leadership? That's a really good one. Can I add a layer of supervisor? Can I add a layer of customer interaction? Can I add a layer of factory experience? If you're not in the factory now, maybe that's something you need. You're always going to have to be looking at what can I add to my resume? Because when you look at somebody who's got a higher level role, they often have experience in manufacturing, sales, marketing, customer interface, multiple different categories of experience. And that's what you really need to have. So don't look at this as a failed opportunity. Look at this as a learning experience. You just got passed over, most likely because there's something on their resume you don't have. And when you look at the job postings, that will often give you a feel for what they're looking for. And that will tell you, can I fit into that new role? So that's one big category. Staying in one spot too long without a promotion, that can be death to your career. Staying in a job that doesn't change, definitely death if you want to have a continuing career of growth. Having somebody from the outside come in, well, you're on the outside from some other company's point of view. So that's where we want to go next. Let's talk about the career ladder. In a career ladder, you've got your job. It goes up the ladder, and it goes up the ladder hopefully fast. But each one of those steps within your own company is going to be a small change. You maybe get to be a senior programmer, and then you get to be a contributing programmer, or you get to be a supervising programmer. And these things aren't that big of a promotion. They're pretty small. And do they come with a lot of money? Probably not. You're looking at whatever the company average is. If you're good, you might get a little bit more, a little bit less. But if it's 3.15% and everybody got 3.15%, you get the picture. You're just one of the cogs in their machine. So you're going to be stuck there because that benefits the company, having you do what you do for a long time, and it doesn't cost them much more. That's a win for the company. But what they really do need is more leadership, and they need competitive information, and they need more skills brought to that same job. So that's what they're going to go look for. In another company, now let's talk about the other ladder. Over here, sorry about that. Over here, there's another ladder going up in another company. Over here, there's another ladder going up in your company. Maybe this ladder is sales and marketing. Maybe this ladder in your company is management. Maybe there's a different programming ladder over in a different company, a competitor. What does your resume look like over there? Ignore the ladder you're on. What does your resume look like on the other ladders? Can you make that look good? Can you bring something to the party they don't have? Is your programming language the company's desire? Somebody who wants to hire somebody, let's say you're using Python, or let's say you're a SAP expert, or let's say you're an expert at, Salesforce.com. If you're an expert in an area that they're looking for, maybe there's a new job with a better title at a higher salary over there, not where you are. And the reality is, most people who make a lot of career growth, both financial and title, do it by going from one ladder to a different ladder and back in a zigzag. They go zigzagging across to make their career grow faster than it would if you stayed with the same company. So what you need to start looking at is, can I build my resume so that I have a variety of talent, that I can document it, I can show it, I can prove it, and can I market that to somebody else who will respect it? Now, this happened to me very, very early on. I was working as a production line worker, and I got promoted within that company to a quality supervisor, and I got in charge of both second and third shift. I was feeling pretty good. This all happened in a very short period of time. Then within a year, I graduated with an electrical engineering computer science degree and went back to my same company and said, I'd like to be an engineer now. Literally, this is what I did. And they looked at me and said, we'd love to have you as an engineer. And they offered me like a 3.5% pay increase. While one of my fellow graduates, same school, same degree, was offered a job as an engineer at that same company for a lot more than I was making, 50% more than I was making. Because he didn't have any experience? This made no sense. But the reality was that companies thought, well, we already got this guy. Let's offer him a little bit. He'll stay. We'll get more performance out of him. He'll be a cheap purchase. And this other guy, no experience, we're going to have to pay market. That's where you're going to run into trouble with your own company. They're going to look at market value for new people. They're going to look at pay increase for you, unless you change a significant title level. And it's not the title on your business card. This is going to be a shock to some people, but there are more than one titles in your company per person per job. There's an HR bracket, which is designed to be the pay band, the bucket where your compensation is decided. That band has a name to it. So, for instance, a guy worked for me at a company. He was a product manager. As a product manager, that was how his business card read. That's what we presented to a customer. He was a product manager. But back in the system, he was a clerk 3, and that defined his compensation band. And if he had been paid more, he would have been at the salesperson level, and it was a pretty good sized jump, but they already had him at a cheaper level, and so they weren't going to move him. For him to get out of that pay band, he was going to have to switch companies or get a big title change that forced him into a new category in HR. I worked for one company where they had 3 different titles. There was the HR title, there was the title in your company, and then there was a different title on your business card that was impressive to customers. So you got to look at that stuff too. In the company you're in a band and you're really stuck there. You have a title. If you're a programmer and that stays in your title, you're not changing anything else. External or internal belief, you're just the same person. If you move to senior, that helps. If you move to manager, that helps. If you move to senior manager, okay. But when you start getting a real bump is when you get director, or when you get vice president, or when you get senior vice president. These are big bumps. And that's when you start being forced into a new band. And that's where more money comes from, more responsibility, and more impact. So you want to make more impact. That's clear, hey, Pat. I mean, really, you're sitting there saying, I'm doing a great job and I want to be rewarded for it. Okay, you want to make an impact. Got it. At the programmer level, that's not really going to happen. You need to move up into those new levels. It's going to be really hard and really slow at your existing company. Now, I did it one time. I stayed at a company a long time. I got 5 title changes that were significant. I went from director to general manager to supplier business manager, senior supplier business manager, and director again in a different kind of category. But 5 big changes with that one company, and it paid off. But I got a bigger salary increase by switching companies, even after all that time. So that's what you need to do. Go back, look at your resume, see what that new person has that you don't. See what you have that nobody knows about and get that onto your resume. Yes, you can try presenting that to your existing management and try to get a job increase, maybe a little bit of a salary increase to go with it. Odds are they may give you the title, and the job salary increase will have to wait until the next year when the salary increases come around and you've only gotten what everybody else gets. So you're going to have to start looking for another job in another place. Sorry to tell you that. Upgrade your resume. Add things in there that are not just 9 years doing the same thing and changing programming languages. That's not enough. Learning how to use a new set of tools, not enough. Handling a larger business account than a small one, not really enough. You got to make a big change in who you are in order to get a big change in what they think you can do. And that's what it's about. They think this new person can do something for them that you have not demonstrated. You need to demonstrate it. It needs to be worth putting on your resume. And somebody outside is going to read your resume with more interest than your existing company will. That's the way it works. I'm unfortunately going to have to tell you that, but it's also a good opportunity because you need to re-examine. Ask yourself, what do I bring to the party? Do I bring something to the party that nobody here knows about? Am I a leader waiting to happen and nobody recognizes that? Am I somebody who's going to learn some new skill that they never thought I was going to learn? And if they don't immediately recognize it, shop it around the market. Start looking. Don't tell anyone you're looking. Don't tell anyone you're looking for a new job. Don't tell anybody. Maybe you can tell your spouse, but nobody at work, no friends. That stuff gets around and it's all bad. Don't put it on LinkedIn. Don't put in open for work. Let's say you've been laid off. Do not put in open for work. There are people out there who will not hire somebody who does not have a job, and that's what open for work says. So be quiet about it. Look around. Cool. Stay cool. Make that resume better, and you will be able to move on the ladder to a different company, horizontal from a small company to a big company. That looks like a bump up because there's more responsibility, more P&L responsibility. I'm having more people work for me. I'm responsible for more dollars going out the door, more profits coming in. Okay, small company to a big company. That's okay. Small company to a big company with a promotion. Well, that's double down. Big company to a small company with a promotion. That's good. Get that level going up. Keep those titles going up, and the dollars are going to chase the titles. Don't worry about having somebody tell you you can't do it. First stop on your resume, highlight the skills that you have that aren't necessarily required for the job that you currently have. Add those skills. You can go out and take an outside course. If you're a product manager, you can go take a professional product management course. If you have a local college, some of these courses are free. Yeah, it's going to take some time, some of your free time away, but you want the promotion, right? You want to make more money, right? So invest in yourself. Get that stuff on your resume and then shop it around. Believe me, the odds of you getting a good increase and a good title bump from your existing company are not good. It does happen. But the odds of you getting that from another company are much better because one of the things you've got right now that they don't have, the people who work at that other company, is a competitor's view. You come from a competitor. And right here on your question, that person hired over you came from a competitor. That's always seen as a plus. They have knowledge from an outside source. They have knowledge of other customers. All of that's valuable. On their resume, did they have leadership? You need to have that on your resume too. So here's your checklist. Number one, you need to get more paragraphs of more skills onto your resume. Not just 1 year, done well 9 times. You need to have leadership in there if you want a promotion, because the next promotion is going to have something to do with management and managing other people. You need to get more skills in there that show that you can bring something to the party that nobody else does. And you need to highlight where your competitive advantage comes from, what you know that they would like to know. That's what makes you marketable. So get it out there. Yes, go ahead, try to make it happen in your own company. But your odds of getting up a ladder by switching over to another ladder are higher. That's where there are job title promotion changes. That's where there are financial changes, new bands from the HR point of view, give you a little room to grow financially. That's where it happens. So take your knowledge, update your resume, get it going. Remember that staying with the same company these days just doesn't have the rewards that it used to have. It's not like it used to be, but you probably know that. So thanks for listening. I hope that helps. I hope it does something for you and gets you going on your career a little bit faster. And if you do like it, we have other things to talk about. Send in another question, subscribe, hit the like button. Just great that you came in, and I really appreciate your question. Thanks for listening.